We're starting over. How's that clicking? Clickety clack. Don't talk back. Cause you all whack. What's wrong with that? See, I'm freestyling. I guarantee it. There's a disproportionate amount of churches on every street corner. Oh. Hey. From here on in, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. You can get killed in broad daylight down here. But like I said, we won't see any gangsters today because it's too cold. What is that sound? Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. Nope. It's not my luck today. Not very lucky today. All right, let's try it again. In this neighborhood, there's a huge bed bug problem. Oh, look at that. There they are. Those guys are Indian killers. They fucking kill Indians. I feel safer with the gangs, to be honest. Coming from the right as well, down this, down Salter. I'm gonna pull over because I know they're coming. Uh-oh. They're gonna go kill some Indians. See, we live in a world where we tell ourselves bullshit stories about cops being heroes. In this neighborhood, the cops are not heroes. They're not your friends. They are psychopaths. How could you work in an organization that is the most racist? I'm going to show you guys something here. This building here has cameras on the outside. I don't know if you noticed that, but you're not allowed to do that. You're not really allowed to have cameras on the outside of your building. It's an apartment. Maybe you can. I don't know. But I'll tell you what. Sometimes what these guys do is they put these cameras out. It's not like it's security for the apartment. It's security for the gangsters. All right? Can you see it? Can you see them? Now those guys, I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking. I gotta be careful. I don't be ratting nobody out here either. Fucking gangsters. Should we go see what the po-po are doing? We know what the po-po are doing. They're fucking shaking down some Aboriginal person. Look at these houses here. Those houses have got to be about 150 years old, maybe probably about 120 years old. The building to your left here is converted into a resource center. It's called Andrew Street Family Center. And like I said, there's a lot of good people around here. And they're just struggling. And they use this Andrew Street Family Center to try to lift themselves up. Now here's my old school. I was about 7 years old. I came to this school, William White. That's probably a resource teacher right there, having a seat. Probably bed bugs all over that couch. A couple of years ago, the prostitutes used to show courtesy for the kids going to school here at William White by taking themselves off the street between the hours of 8 and 9 in the morning so that the kids wouldn't walk past them, seeing them all dressed up, ready for work. That would be a nice house. You don't want to be going to William White School. Apparently William White School has a reputation for having, kids will come in there and they won't even finish the year. They move right away. So what do they call that? I can't remember the word. To the left of the street here, down the back lane there, somebody was shot and killed just last year. All over this neighborhood, there's people getting shot. slumlords. Slumlords own these properties. This building over here to our left, I'm going to show you it. It's called Ivan Franko Manor. You know, the immigrants that came here about probably around 1870, 1885-ish. They came in the thousands. There was in 1870 there was about 9,000 people in this area. We called it Red River. It was mostly 7,000 of the people here were Métis, and so this was our territory. But by 1910, there was over 250,000 people, most of them Ukrainians and Czechoslovakians. See this place? And they started up all these resource centers for themselves because this neighborhood was actually see, the British people, they live on the south side of Winnipeg, and those guys owned everything. The British, they owned all the businesses, and they were very racist towards Ukrainians. I don't know if, I guess you could call it racism. They didn't think very well of Ukrainians and Polish and Czechoslovakians, and Russians. They hated them. So they said you could live over here in the north end. And then when the Aboriginal people started coming to the cities, they hate the Indians here, right? They hate Aboriginal people, Métis. There wasn't too many people who identify as black coming here, but when they came, this is the reserve that was reserved for the most hated people in the city. So the Ukrainians and the Polish people, they started to get better jobs because they started to identify as white, which is the whole plan all along. The British allowed the Ukrainians and Germans and Russians to come here if they could be assimilated into the white race, and that's one of their Orthodox churches. See, the British Anglicans, they didn't like that Orthodox church. There's an Anglican church right there. The British, they hated the Ukrainians. But as long as Ukrainians said they were white, then it's all right. If you're white, it's all right. So now all these Ukrainians, they think they're white. They're not white. They'll never be white enough. Never. In a racist world, white supremacy doesn't allow Ukrainians to be white enough. They just allow you to be in the club, the gang, gangsters. And now most of these houses are rented by Aboriginal people. To our left, you'll see the Ukrainian Fraternal Life Insurance building. That's for Ukrainians. British gave the Ukrainians jobs like sweeping up schools, mopping up the floors, that sort of stuff. They didn't even let Aboriginal people off the reserve. But around 1965, they started coming in. The ghetto. This is the ghetto. That European Meats, that's a pretty good place if you want to get some meat. It's not too shabby there. It smells nice too. This is the world famous Redwood Avenue we're crossing. Oh, there's lots of gangsters around here. This here would have been a corner store that I went to. Oh, there's a gangster. Gangster. I'm just kidding. I don't know if he's a gangster. He's probably just a proud father trying to raise his kids. But make no mistake, folks, this is where the gangsters are hanging out. I'm going to turn left and you'll see this nice new house put up. What kind of license plate is that? You ain't from around here. In that nice new house there used to be a corner store there called Mr. Meister's. And that orange building you just saw on your right, that's about 150 years old. They would have stored horses there. And that building to the right, 469 Aberdeen, that's been there forever. I don't even know if anybody's ever lived in there. Over to the left here, you're gonna see 274 Powers. We're on Power Street. And 270. We lived in 270. Lots of bad memories there. Fuck, let me tell you. Bad fucking memories. Oh my god. Fucking horror movie here. There it is. That fucking place is a horror movie for me. And the building beside it, the house beside it, the one that's burned out, I saw a man jump from the top of that peak there, and he landed right in front of me. He landed on top of his car. Right in front of me, I seen his guts spill out. The whole fucking family in that house, they all committed suicide one day. The whole family. Except for there was a little girl there. I remember the ambulance came and started taking out the bodies. The cops were there. I was about 7 years old. So I walk inside that building because they left the door open and the light was on. I walk inside, there's blood everywhere in the house, splattered all over the place. Blood squirted up to the ceiling. There's nobody in there. It just seemed strange. I was curious. At 7 years old, I walked into that old house. Oh. There wasn't even any furniture in there. There was no couch. There was a kitchen table and chairs, I guess, so they could eat. But that's poor. That's poverty. That's what poverty does. That's what being poor does. It makes you sick. In this back lane, I remember running around with no shoes on down here. There's glass everywhere, but my feet was so used to running around on the concrete with no shoes. Because we were poor, we couldn't even afford fucking shoes. I never got my foot cut. My foot never got cut. I guess I had tough skin at the bottom of my feet. Now down here, people were they had a little bit more money down here. I think they still do. Building to your right here, the St. Aidan's Christian School. They're trying to Christianize the kids around here. This Fresh Food Plus place on the left. That was 7-Eleven before, but it had been robbed so many times they just stopped making it a 7-Eleven. See, around here, there were more Ukrainians living down here. Polish people. They had better jobs. They were making more money. So they were doing a little bit better. But they were fucking crazy too. I think they thought they were better than everyone else around here, just because they had better jobs. That's the sense I got. But that's racism. That's how racism works. This green trim. Growing up in this neighborhood, I learned that if it was a green trim house, that's where the Polish people lived. They were Polish. And then there's another trim. I think it's blue trim. And that's you knew that there was a Ukrainian family living in a house with blue trim. So 270 Powers, the House of Horror, it's actually still up. That house has got to be over 120 years old. Coming up on the right, you're going to see an empty space. We lived in that house, in a house that used to be there. By that time, I would have been about 9, maybe 8. Well, it looks like they built a house in it, in the empty lot. I don't know what this guy's doing. Down this back lane. This is my old back lane. I would have have been about 9 years old. A lot of bad memories. Oh, fuck. We were poor. Hungry. A lot of the kids around here, they were pretty tough. There was no gangs back in the 70s. No kid gangs, like youth gangs. There were gangs of kids, but they weren't officially a gang. You had your friends. You hung out as a group, and you protected each other. The kids were pretty tough and hard on each other. They were merciless. Two of the toughest kids you'd ever meet. They were black belts in Taekwondo. They lived in the lot to the right, that greenhouse over there. And they lived in this one here, to the left. Literally moved right across the street. But that house has been rebuilt to the right. To the left here, these are slumlords. Oh, man. And people living here are just trying to get by. They're lucky to have to actually be able to rent, because it's pretty tough to rent a house around here. They're probably paying $1,000 a month for these places, these fucking shitholes. Over to the left, we're gonna drive past a memorial. Somebody was killed here. It read "Justice for AJ." So I'm not sure what that meant. I'm not sure what happened here. It was probably a police shooting. That's what it sounds like. The police, they just shoot you if you're an Indian here. They'll give you 2, 3, 4 chances if you're white. They'll just keep giving you chances if you're white. But if you're an Indian, it's a 50-50 bet. You're gonna die. They're gonna fucking shoot you. And then when the fire and paramedics come, they don't want to treat you. They just let you die. They just let you bleed out in this neighborhood. Mountain Avenue is where the shit pretty much ends. It's still pretty bad here. You can hear them shooting at night sometimes. You can hear them screaming. Not the nice kind. Not the nice kind of screaming and banging. The bad kind. Roach Motel to the left. Fucking bedbug heaven here. Look at this nice brick house here. The houses to the left here, there used to be gangsters living in there. I went in there one time and I got surrounded by gangsters. But I'm alive to tell the tale, so that tells you how that went. This is the St. John's School, the St. John's High School. Now here, they don't even waste their time teaching Aboriginal kids. They just don't even teach them. White teachers, they're just there to collect a check, put their time in, and they don't give a shit about any of these kids. And the kids know it. I went to school here. It's starting to get a little better here. Right around here. Oh yeah. In 1979, nothing but white people lived down this street. This is Cathedral. $1 million house to the right here. Polish and Ukrainians down this street. 1979. The brown building to your right, that used to be a corner store. That apartment building is not bad, actually. Not bad. It's always been pretty good there. It's getting a little worse lately. This Zion Church has been here forever. Christianizing the kids, trying to Christianize the kids here. That apartment building down there? Oh yeah. Roach Motel. Métis people used to live down this street on the left. McRae School, the old McRae School was closer into the field here. They built a new one. Prostitutes in this apartment building, in both of these apartment buildings. Sex trade workers. Drug dealers. Pimps. I went to McRae School. It wasn't very nice. Mostly Polish and Ukrainian and other Eastern European kids went to that school in 1979, 80, somewhere around there. And they weren't nice. They weren't nice to. I guess their parents would have taught them how to be racist. But the British would have taught their parents when their parents were kids. Now, I lived in a house down here, but it's gone. It's been replaced. Well, maybe it's not this street. Next one over. Let's go check it out. That's the St. John's High School I was telling you about. They The teachers there, they don't even waste their time teaching. They don't even try. You know, if you're a good teacher, you're gonna try and help the ones that are struggling, not the ones that are doing well. But in that school, they help the ones that are doing well. They literally make friends with the ones that are doing well. But the ones that are struggling, they don't even pay attention to them there in that school. Struggle is real. Well, it's not down this street. The house over to your right that we just drove by, it's a green colored house. So what's happening there is the owner is renting out rooms, and that's illegal because you need to have a license to have a rooming house. And when I was a social worker, I came there and I knew that was wrong, but because of the housing shortage here, I didn't say anything. I let it go because those folks were lucky to have a room. Yeah, the house that I lived in is gone. And I had a friend that lived in a house just down the street here. But I wasn't allowed to play with him after a while because I guess we got into a fight. I was just a little kid. We were just little. I would have been about 7, I guess. See that aluminum veneer? No, this is the street I lived in. This is the street. My friend, I forgot his name, is probably Billy. There were so many Billies back then. There it is. 391, Billy lived in that place. There was no handrail there, and I pushed Billy off to the side, and he was just a little kid. He was about 5. I might have been about 6. My house would have been to the left over here, and you can see that there's an empty lot there. We moved a lot. I think we moved about 13 times, and usually right after we were the last ones to live in those houses, they would be condemned right after we moved out. They're infested with roaches and bed bugs. Oh, it's just awful. Awful. So this is the hood. I hope you enjoyed it. One of the things you got to understand is this was once a beautiful neighborhood for a lot of these Polish and Ukrainian folks. You can tell by the size of the houses, they were doing really well. But that was 1970. And the generation before that in the 1950s and 60s. Did even better. Well, that's the hood. It gets better down here. we're still in a pretty impoverished zone. The people around here, they're probably two-income families. They're probably doing about $120,000 a year.